The X-Men animated series introduced many comic book characters and brought a lot of color to the show. Many of these characters needed to be included in future projects that brought the heroes to the live action and failed to do proper justice to them. One of the characters that experienced this was Jubilee, who was introduced as one of the main characters in the series, but later appeared as a supporting one in the live action projects. This treatment further supported the idea that she is a minor character and not much focus was given to her superpowers. Now, it seems fans might get to see a whole new level of Jubilee, considering the comics are giving us an insight into the full potential of Jubilee's powers in the comic books. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Name's Jubilee, and dude, I get it. One day life's fresh, then the next day you're waking up to a blue monkey singing.
Who is Jubilee? Fans of the X-Men 97 series might identify Jubilee as Jubilation Lee, the girl who can do fireworks or energy blasts. She was a shoplifter who joined the X-Men after being impressed by the motive of staying with the human. Even though she didn't join them right away, she managed to bond with Wolverine and even helped him during an attack by the enemy, which helped her case and brought her to the team of the mutants. She ended up being one of the youngest members of the team. Later, comics revealed that she was the daughter of Hong Kong immigrants that had quite a lavish life. The first time she learned about her powers, she used them as fireworks to temporarily blind the authorities to get away. One time, while doing this, she emitted a large energy blast that shook her apart, disorienting the people after her. But things took a tragic turn when her parents died in a car accident, making her an orphan. Even though she was sent to an orphanage, she managed to escape and started staying at a Hollywood shopping mall, where the authorities caught her. Luckily, the X-Men were at the mall, and they came to her rescue, which resulted in the interaction that would decide how she would use her powers for the rest of her life. Jubilee is quite joyful, and most of her stories treat her as an immature member of the X-Men. But over the years, various events have helped make her quite an essential member of the group of superheroes, giving her an adequate role. Even though we never get to see the full extent of her powers, something we will dive into later, Jubilee has quite the experience with superpowers. She lost all of her powers during the House of M events until S.H.I.E.L.D. helped her recover. While this event led her to lose her powers, there was a time when she became a full-fledged vampire after being infected by vampire blood and then being bitten by Xeris. But the X-Men would save her, and her bond with Wolverine would play a significant role in the future of her friendship with his daughter Laura. What's her mutant power? Jubilee can generate fireworks, at least what she calls them, and they appear to be tiny bursts of energy. Also known as lumikinetic explosive light blasts, these blasts can vary in intensity and power, and she can control this according to the circumstance. Even though we can only see them as tiny fireworks, there have been situations where these blasts have toppled her enemies off, and Jubilee can later absorb the generated fireworks back into her own body without causing any harm to herself. During her training under Emma Frost, Frost described Jubilee as having a lot of untapped potential. If she unleashes her full powers, she can cause a sufficient amount of damage. According to Emma, Jubilee can cause a blast that might be equivalent to the energy release of nuclear fission. But when asked about this, Jubilee mentions that she is scared of the collateral damage it might cause, and that's why she prefers to use her energy for more minor attacks. Even though she possesses this level of mutant powers, she is mainly depicted as a side character and only manages to show her true strength during specific situations. Let's look at one such situation where she had to handle matters by herself and use her powers beyond the limits we have seen her do before. What will happen if she unlocks her full power? The latest X-Terminators arc was an exciting plot that saw Jubilee team up with Boom Boom, Dazzler, and even Laura Kinney. Initially, the trio, excluding Laura, was captured by Dazzler's ex-boyfriend, who turned out to be Dracula's grandson. They were then put into a gladiator-like competition, competing among other characters. Even Laura was put in there and was supposed to face the trio, but then it ended up being the moment from Thor Ragnarok when the friends from work face each other. As the girls try to find a way to escape from Alex's tournament setup, they find themselves inside an aquarium, which reminds Laura of the Collector's collection. Sure enough, Alex had teamed up with the Collector and ran a tiny operation where he started collecting these women from Earth. But the girls wouldn't be imprisoned here for long. Since they still had their powers, they managed to break out and convince the other prisoners to escape with them, only to realize the other monsters stuck with them were sentient beings too. They used the gateway present in the ship to land everyone in Krakoa. But things haven't been resolved yet since their escape attempt has caused quite the casualty in the vampire community. And their council wasn't happy with that and wanted to wage a war with Krakoa. The four girls were summoned by the Quiet Council, who explained the entire series of events until Dracula arrives, blaming them for the destruction. However, since Alex is responsible for the events that transpire, Dracula drops his charges until Dazzler asks for a final request before the vampires take action against Alex. Even though they didn't have a plan, the girls were sure to stop the deal Alex had been running at the bar. Jubilee has an idea. This time, they plan to keep the Collector busy with Laura, since the latter had been one of the Collector's exhibits a while back. Meanwhile, they would hit on Alex's operations and destroy the bar where he was running the entire scheme. While things go according to plan initially, the Collector doesn't seem affected by Laura's attacks and takes his giant form to defeat them. While the others try to figure out how to defeat the Collector, Jubilee also plans to unleash her powers. She asks the Collector if he knows about her mutant ability. Meanwhile, Boom Boom prepares to hit the Collector with a rocket launcher, considering nothing works out of their attempt to destroy the godlike superior being. The Collector responds to Jubilee's question by stating something we all know: pyrotechnics. But Jubilee elaborates on her powers at the atomic level. He thinks she is kidding, but realizing it is an alien ship, Jubilee utters, "Eat my atom bomb, eternal dork," and lets out a burst of energy at a subatomic level that completely encapsulates her entire surroundings. As the other three girls watch from Earth, the alien ship explodes with a massive blast. But this blast doesn't seem ordinary, as it has the look and feel of a nuclear explosion in space. Even though for a second, it looks like she will be affected by the explosion, Jubilee appears in front of her friends, carried by magic, who manage to teleport her back to Earth. But she is completely naked and lost all of her hair, which seems to be a drawback of this attack. But other than that, the blast appears not to affect her. Even though the others quickly judge her new look, Jubilee seems to be in a high off the attack she just did and smiles through it. Boom Boom quickly jokes that she looks like a mole rat that has just been given the super soldier serum. In an otherwise funny and laughable plot, Jubilee shows severe powers from a character we haven't seen before. Also, Jubilee proved herself as a leader amidst the chaos they were trying to figure out. She found a way to utilize the girls' powers to find an escape from the entire scenario. While the other mutants had their chance to shine in the narrative, Jubilee took the major one and proved that she might not be all jokes, considering she has not been taken that seriously over the years. In comic book history, there's been another scenario where she was a pretty formidable opponent when her adopted son was in danger. During a mission with the Excalibur, in Excalibur number 9, Jubilee saw that the White Priestesses had injured her son Shogo, who was Excalibur's dragon. She comes into the battlefield and creates a series of energy orbs that drop into the enemy like bombs dropped from a plane, which were quite destructive. Her teammates are pretty shocked by this move from her, even though Jubilee seems to be fully in control while making this attack. These arcs indicate that Jubilee has a lot of powers that she doesn't get to explore much, considering the level of destruction it might cause. But then, when the opportunity comes and the enemy provokes her, things might not turn out in their favor. marvelous verdict. With the revival of the Marvel series X-Men 97, fans are seeing Jubilee again as an essential member of the X-Men. The 4th episode of the series saw Jubilee's birthday. On this occasion, she and Roberto da Costa ended up inside a video game by Mojo himself. Since Roberto was very new to his powers, he didn't do much, while Jubilee, a video game fan, fought through most of the enemies using strategically planned attacks. Later, she comes across Abscissa, an alternate version of Jubilee from another timeline. Jubilee uses her powers to fight Mojo and shows the full extent of her powers. It becomes clear that the animated series still values her as an essential part of the mutants, and she is one of the best creations that Chris Claremont has brought to Marvel. Even though there haven't been many cases where she has proven to be a solo hero in comic books, she has had moments where she has stood apart. During her adventures with Wolverine, Jubilee has often been the one to calm him down from his tendencies to be ruthless. The Fox X-Men films only gave us a few chances to see her character, even though it was never something strong enough to leave a mark. Lana Condor's version of Jubilee was an exciting moment for the fans, considering she looked very similar to the animated series character design. But again, she only appeared to use her powers once to hack an arcade machine, and even this was a deleted scene. Imagine this character's potential with her powers, but the movies haven't given her a chance to showcase them. Marvel seems to be teasing fans of the X-Men, and they have done this with quite a few other characters. Remember the entire Gambit ordeal? The writing of the revival of X-Men 97 suggests that all hope is not lost with her character, and we might get to see her use her powers to the level we just discovered in a future episode. Other than that, with the various projects in the MCU, it won't be too dubious to imagine Jubilee also making her debut. But this time, we can only wish that Marvel does proper justice to her by giving her more than just a few dialogues and putting her on the side. It's time this fan-favorite character gets justice in live action, and she finally gets her powers showcased in this format. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.